Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am Sean Anderson, Most Valuable Podcast, and the upcoming segment is from our full Fast Break podcast that we recorded. And if you do want to check out that full podcast, head over to Blog Talk Radio /The Fast Break. You'll be able to find the full podcast over there. But let's move on now. Let's go to a process that's pretty much already been finished in Cleveland. Cleveland Cavaliers, obviously leading the Eastern Conference right now, just got a win over the Atlanta Hawks. Lost previously to the Boston Celtics in a close game.
That was probably second best game of the year.
A fun game. It was a fun game. Darren Williams almost hit that 3-2. It just lipped out. But, Cavs right now 42-18, first in the Eastern Conference, first in the Central Division. Obviously the NBA champs last year. And now with KD going down, KD obviously he hyperextended his knee.
Grade 2. Yep.
Zaza fell on him. They're going to reevaluate him in 4 weeks. I think the turntable is 6 to 8 weeks, and they're expecting him to be back in like the late first round of the playoffs. And correct me if I'm wrong.
They said if he looks great at 4 weeks, they can try to edge him in at the end of the regular season. Okay. But then it became the don't push him back too early conversation.
Because what they did with Steph last year.
Exactly.
So right now, Kevin Durant, obviously banged up. He's a little bit injured. Well, he's injured. Not a little bit injured.
He's injured.
Homie's injured. Homie's in a wheelchair. But Kevin Durant's injured, and now the question is, does this make the Cleveland Cavaliers the favorite to win the NBA Finals?
I think it has to, and that's almost sounds crazy because you have a similar team in the Golden State Warriors who, they won 73 games last year with the same core, but you got to remember all those guys who helped them get there.
Zealy, Mo Spates,
Harrison Barnes.
Oh, geez, I forgot about Harrison Barnes. Leandro Barbosa.
I mean, they had a really good supporting cast last year. And you get an older Andre Iguodala, older Sean Livingston this year. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, okay, you still have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. They're all fantastic players. They were all all-stars. So saying that, because you lost one of your 4 all-stars, you're no longer, the favorites. But it's honest, like, it will take them a little bit of time to turn back the clock and be like, all right, we can play without KD. We can get the ball moving again and get the shots going. But I think that the Cavs, as the champions, should be shown the respect of we're defending champions. All we've done is get better.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the Cavs never were not my favorites. That didn't make any sense, did it? The Cavs were always my favorites.
Yep.
Let's put it that way. How about I just simplify it? The Cavs have always been my favorites to win the NBA Finals because they didn't need that gelling process. You look at the Warriors, and they needed to gel. They needed to bring in KD and see who's going to be the alpha, who's going to be the guy that's going to take over, who's going to be the guy that's going to be the leader there. And Steph struggled a little bit this year, and it's tough not to struggle after the year he had last year.
Yeah, but anything less than a record is now struggling.
But he's still struggled. He's still seen a significant dip.
Yep.
And you look at Klay. Clay's been kind of what he's been, a little bit lower, but
he was cold to start the year, but he's kind of come back into his
nothing
own.
Too crazy. And Draymond Green, Draymond's still fantastic defensively. Obviously taking a little bit back scoring wise because of everybody else, but he's still picking up defensively, leading the league in steals. I think still
possibly
around like 2.2. So you look at that, but I still feel like they never came together. The Warriors. I feel like Steph, KD, Klay, and Draymond were on at the same time. Or, Steph and KD were on at the same time. KD's playing the least amount of minutes he's ever played in an NBA season. Steph's playing the least amount of minutes he's played as a starter in the NBA. They're not able to be out on the court for enough to feel like, all right, the Warriors are moving. The Warriors are getting everything flowing. And it's like, well, they don't want to rush everybody because, Steph got injured last year. They don't want to push anything. Now KD's injury. I just feel like they won't have enough time to gel, and then they'll have like a couple slip-ups in the finals, and then the Cavs will be able to overtake them. Now with this KD injury, that's less time to gel. That's less minutes. That's less time for Steph to take over. And then say they go back to what they were last year, then you have to reintroduce KD. And that's the thing where there's a lot of moving pieces where now I can officially say the Cavs are my favorite to win the NBA Finals, and it's not really, what if the Warriors? What the Warriors have the best roster on paper ever. Now it's the Cavs are the best team in the NBA because everything's coming together for them.
They're a complete team.
And I know K-Love's injured, but that's easy to bring him back. He was there last year. It's nothing that's going to change up this team too much. They're not going to change up everything. They're just going to reinsert him into the lineup, and they'll have that time because he's going to be back earlier. I look at the Cavs, and now I can officially say that they are the favorites in the NBA to win the finals.
Yeah, I think it's a hard place to put an argument against you because KD's contributions to that Warriors team not only was he having one of his most efficient years shooting,
27% per or 27 per right now. It's unreal.
Just absolutely ridiculous. But he was also a huge help defensively, which you didn't on paper, it didn't feel like, oh yeah, he's really going to bolster down this defense. But he absolutely has been a huge factor in this Golden State team and them being able to contain other teams. And I think that all around, this is a really hard hit for Golden State. My main concern is that if we end up with a Draymond Green of last year's playoffs where he starts to feel it, he starts to get hot, and you have Clay and you have Steph, those three are probably enough firepower to put you into the Western Conference Finals.
Oh, without a doubt.
And I think that at that point, with KD coming back in the fold, early playoffs at the latest, fingers crossed, like I think they will have some time to mesh. So I think that even though I feel like the Cavs are due that respect, I think that just the Warriors are going to be so dangerous, so dangerous.
And that's the thing. They're so dangerous. There's so many weapons. But again, it's that form of gelling because we saw this in the first year with Miami. We saw this with Miami where the first year the Mavs were able to beat them because they were that complete team.
Yeah.
You look at all these veterans that were coming together, Dirk, J. Kidd, Sean Marion, all these players coming together, Jason Terry, all of them coming together and overcoming it because, D-Wade wasn't really comfortable in his spot, Bosh wasn't comfortable in his spot, and LeBron wasn't comfortable. And Spoelstra wasn't able to bring them all together, and then they needed all this help with Ray Allen and Mike Miller. They needed this help around them, and the Warriors, they bring in someone new, and I think it's just going to be hard for them to adjust because, JaVale McGee's been great, but how much is he actually going to play? Zaza's been Zaza hasn't been that great.
Yeah.
There's some obvious disadvantages here that the
now
Warriors
you're
have.
relying heavily on Pat McCaw for the rest of this year too. So I think upside and downside to that, but I honestly think that it's just I don't want to hand it over to the Warriors, or I don't want to hand it away from the Warriors because it just sounds silly saying the team that last year won 73 games, added Kevin Durant, and has
Blew a
been
3-1 lead.
And has been on a pretty steady roll of consistency up until this last injury week, really, after the injury. It's hard to just admit that, okay, hand it over to the Cavs. Like I'm not ready to do that.
Yeah, I'm not saying hand it over to the Cavs. I'm not saying, the finals are done, season's over.
Favorite implies that you're going to win it.
Well, favorite means that I would pick you, but that doesn't mean you can't lose. That's not saying they're the odds-on favorite. That's not saying they're 1-1 favorite. I'm saying that I would pick them to win the finals right now, and I would be confident doing it. And that's just me.
Yeah.
I think you can make the argument that they're not you can be comfortable, but I think you could at least say that they have the best shot right now, and I think they have the easiest road because yes, Boston's been great. Yes, I know Boston just beat them, but the Bulls have 3-0 against them too. And the Raptors improved, and Washington got Bodan from the Nets. But I just feel like the Cavs added so much too with Darren Williams, Andrew Bogut, and now you look at the size that the Cavs can put on the floor. Bogut, Tristan Thompson, K. Love, LeBron. You have so much size there. Channing Frye as well.
That would be truly the worst matchup for the Warriors to have to face up against because, I mean, down low, and if KD isn't all good to go when he's back, trying to force him to play as defensively as he has been, that might be too much for the Warriors.
And you put Andrew Bogut at center and make him go up against Zaza. I'm going to take Andrew Bogut because of his physicality there. And then you look at Tristan Thompson, say you slide him over the power forward, or you even put Derek Williams there, who Derek Williams is finding a lot of open shots there.
He gets so many looks.
And he's so hyper athletic that he might be able to beat KD if KD's not 100% with that knee. And that,
okay, let's not get crazy.
I'm just saying, speed-wise.
Okay.
I'm saying speed-wise.
Fair enough.
I'm just saying, because LeBron creates so much, you say KD steps over to help whoever's guarding LeBron. Well, most likely KD's guarding LeBron. But that's the thing is then it's
matchup problems.
Say Draymond
no matter
takes
what
a step
you do,
over. Yeah, say Draymond takes a step over, then Derek Williams can use that speed to the basket, and LeBron's such a good passer, he can dump it off, and they can abuse that. We saw that with Richard Jefferson. Abusing cuts. So I think that you look at everything that the Cavs added, and again, Darren Williams and Andrew Bogut, they have veteran savvy players now, and that was something that was big for him. J.R. Smith in Game 7. hitting that big three
And
right
J.R.
out of
Smith will be
halftime.
back, too.
Yeah, and J.R. Smith will be back. Like, there's so many dangerous players and so many looks you can throw out there where, you might not see everybody we saw last year, and this team just got better. And, the Warriors struggled. They didn't add anybody, and now you lose KD.
Well, they added KD.
Well, I'm saying...
Oh, at the break?
Yeah, the deadline. You lose KD, and you didn't add anyone, and now you look at Darren Williams and Andrew Bogut. I see the Cavs trending upward, and I see the Warriors kind of slowing down. I think that just because it's going to take the big three in Golden State a little bit of time to come back together, and then you're going to add the KD back, and it's going to kind of mess that whole culture back up again. I feel like
it is disruptive because they truly have changed the way they play. If you look at them, if you look at their game tape from last year versus this year, and this is something I took a little time and did, and you'll see the ball movement, and you'll see the way that they bring the ball up the court. Even it's slightly different, and you'll see the looks that they're getting. Last year, it was open looks all the time because they're making the extra pass. They're making the extra effort to find someone else that they're playing very unselfishly. Now it is very clear that they were directed by Steve Kerr and that they felt like we need to funnel the ball through certain avenues on these offensive setups. And if it's not going to Kevin Durant, then it's for sure going to Steph. And if it's not going, like, they had this all pre-planned. It doesn't have the same free-flowing style that we had seen them be so successful with last year with that unselfish basketball.
And if they stay stagnant and kind of if they have hit this streak that they're currently hitting with Steph and Clay hitting
both cold at the same time,
cold streaks, 3 of 23 combined last night against the Bulls. If they do that against a team like the Rockets in the Western Conference Finals, that's why I think the Rockets are the biggest threat, because they can shoot. And if the Warriors have a cold night and they're not all together and KD's not on pair with the other three, the Rockets can outshoot them and just catch them when they're on the balls of their heels. So I think the Warriors look more vulnerable now, where the Cavs have so many guys they can rely on, so many guys they can fall back on, where the Golden State, they got so thin because they went out and made that big signing. And I'm not saying it's a bad signing at all, but it's just more of, I think they might have overreached and didn't look at everything on the back end, where the Cavs, they've been building up that back end. They've been building up everything else. They got Korver.
With scraps.
Was unreal.
That's the impressive thing about the Cavs is they're doing this with Korver, who was a throwaway from Atlanta. I don't want to say throwaway, but he was on the outside.
He was getting old.
Yep.
He was 35, 36 years old.
Who is now coming off of his best shooting month 58% in quite a while.
From three. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Still bonkers. And picking up Bogut, who was one of the key reasons why, illegal picks, one of the key reasons why the Golden State Warriors had so many good looks last year is because he's a big man who understands how to use his body and how to position himself well. He's got good hands around the basket. And I think that adding in someone like him, the open shots the open looks LeBron already gets to his players, and allowing them to have better looks at every single shot they take, like we've seen with Korver, like we've seen with every player they've added around him, their percentage is going up by a drastic amount. So I think it'll take D. Will a little bit to pick up on that because he's not used to being put in those positions. He's a creator, he's a playmaker rather than the guy who's getting the open look at the end of the play. But I honestly think that the Cavs have assembled such an interesting lineup of unique role players around LeBron James that they are set up. I agree with you on that they've done more at the trade deadline and put themselves in a really great position.
And there's one thing too, where now they're bigs who are can play down low in the power forward and center position. You have two guys in Andrew Bogut and K-Love, guys that are kind of more grinder guys that can be a little more physical down low and grabbing boards. And then you have the hyper athletic guys in Derek Williams, and you have Tristan Thompson. Two guys who could jump out of the roof. So the reason why they went 2 and 4 in the 2011 draft. Those guys, with their speed and their ability and their wingspan, paired with a guy like Bogut, who's going to be able to use his big body and has really learned how to use his big body, both defensively and grabbing boards. And you look at K-Love, who a guy that used to grab 20 and 20s all the time. I mean, like, these guys know how to rebound, and against guys where if you have Kyle Korver, a guy who's going to shoot long threes, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, if those guys miss their shots, you're going to be able to get guys around the basket putting that shot back up. And
or taking it back out for another offensive set, and you just restart it. And Yeah, it's a scary,
And that's the thing
never-ending cycle.
And the Warriors lack size. And now the Cavs have this size that they can go back on. You didn't really think, all right, who's the dangerous guy behind Tristan Thompson last year? Because Channing Frye didn't even play in the playoffs. And he wasn't even that great of a rebounder. He was a guy that stood out on the perimeter. Yep. Now you have four guys, really, that can be good rebounders. And LeBron doesn't have to do it by himself. I just look at the Cavs, and I feel like they have so much backed up, and that's why they're my favorites now. And
they're a deep team, but it's playoff season. Guess what happens in playoffs? You cut that play time down on the bench.
And guess what also happens in the playoffs?
What's that?
LeBron dominates 7 straight NBA finals.
Yeah, he does.
Just saying.
Yep.
You have the best player in the NBA, and now you're giving him depth, and you're giving him so many looks. Channing Frye dominated that Toronto series and then didn't even play in the finals. That's the thing. They have so many different looks where they can beat you, and Channing Frye might play two series, dominate, and then you won't even see the finals. That's something where the Cavs, their depth, they know how to use it. And they'll learn how to use D. Will and Bogut, and I think in an effective way, because they learned how to use Richard Jefferson effectively in the finals, and they learned how to use Channing Frye effectively in the playoffs. I think they'll be able to do the same thing with Kyle Korver, Deron Williams, Derek Williams, and Andrew Bogut.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you in theory, because I do agree with what they've added makes them a very deep and dangerous team. I still think star power wins games in the NBA, and I think that the combined efforts of 3 all-stars who are healthy and a Kevin Durant who has time to return to build up during the playoffs.
There's 3 all-stars on this Cavs team.
You're right, but guess what? One more on the Warriors.
But who's this one on the Cavs? This star shines very, very bright.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very bright. I don't know how short of a memory it was, but Kyrie Irving didn't win them Game 7. He hit a big shot, and he was fantastic in Game 7. But I don't know if people remember and are forgetting the greatest block in NBA history, the chase down block, LeBron James, dead tired with 2:11 left, chasing down Andre Iguodala. And I don't know if people remember the 4th or 3rd triple-double in NBA Finals history, or maybe it's Game 7 history, but LeBron dominated those last 3 games.
The man who led them in every single stat.
There's the reason why he is the greatest player I've seen, because I wasn't around for Jordan, I've seen in NBA history, and probably the 2nd greatest player in NBA history ever. KD's fantastic, but KD's got jank knees. Steph's fantastic, but he doesn't have that good of ankles. You look at Draymond Green. Draymond Green's fantastic, but he doesn't do everything. He doesn't excel at one thing. He can't take over a game.
If he can rile up his team, they can get at it with anybody. And if he throws a kick, sorry, and going down.
Clay's either hot or he's stoned. So that's one thing where I look at the Cavs. I was gonna say the LeBrons. I know I'm gonna get Kyrie stepping up and scoring. I know I'm gonna get K-Love doing whatever he can do to win. I know I'm getting Tristan Thompson to step up and be big. I know I'm getting a shirtless JR, and I know I'm getting the greatest basketball player I've ever seen on the other side of the court. And it doesn't matter that he's 33 years old, playing the most minutes he's ever played. He's still dominating. That's why the Cavs are the favorites to me. Thank you. Oh, shit. Oh, it's just one of our videos scared me a little bit. Don't forget to check out that one. And also don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. But thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.